Hi, everyone. Welcome to week 8 of our course. This week, we are going to be talking about child led literacy. It's something that I am truly passionate about, allowing children to enhance their skills or learn nuance based on play and inquiry based experiences. When children are in the driver's seat or in control of their learning, it increases their interest in learning and not only enhances more obvious skills like reading and writing, but it affects their ability and confidence in problem solving and a love for learning. A large part of allowing children to be, as I said, in the driver's seat when it comes to their language and literacy development is to create an environment that contains multimodal literacy experiences and text and print present in meaningful places, effectively using the environment as another teacher. There are many ways to do this. Today, I'll provide some ways to allow children to almost bump into literacy in your own practice, and I will also share some of my own experiences with this. We're going to talk about allowing the children's interest to determine the materials available, teaching children to use literacy to find answers to questions using the example of a monster truck inquiry. Monster trucks, I know, seems totally random, but in the Niagara region, there recently was a big event involving monster trucks, and I've been seeing it all over social media. I've been hearing about it in the different childcare centers I'm going into. So, so we're using monster trucks. It's at the forefront of my mind. So after we talk about that, we'll then touch on what types of open-ended materials you could you could include in your space to promote literacy in other ways. Allowing the children's interests and questions to inform the type of materials you're providing is absolutely critical for developing and really driving home that love of learning. The type of books you have available is important. While we may be inspired to have books about Halloween at this time, which is totally okay, it's also important to listen to the other children that we're working with to gather information about what it is that they're interested in and provide related materials. If you're hearing children discussing a monster truck event that took place over the weekend, like I have been, perhaps you visit the library and take out some books on monster trucks. That would be the simplest way to incorporate their interest in the literacy materials you provide. To take it a step further, you might sit down with a group of children who've been discussing these trucks and ask them about their wonderings. Do you have anything that you're wondering about with these monster trucks? What do they look like? You may even throw in your own ideas. I wonder how big the wheels are. How much do they weigh? What does the engine look like? How do they work? How do you turn them on? Jot down these ideas with the children. You could have them help you sound out some of the words if it's appropriate for them. This is what really takes it to the next level then. Teach them how to find the answers to those questions that you have. A lot of times iPads or computers are available. Teach them how to research. In my own classroom, we do things like this. We used Google Dictate a lot on the iPad that we had. So they could press a microphone icon and say their question out loud, and then they could hit search. And so instead of typing it out, they could use their voice, and Google would come up with all kinds of things. Help them to find videos and websites about monster trucks, and show them how to navigate the sites. That's technological literacy. If you're working in a school where a library is available, you could bring the children down with you to ask for books on the subject, effectively teaching them how to use a library and how to access those resources. These are just some of the examples of how you can take the children's lead and then take it a few steps further. If the interest is still there, have them document their learning. Why don't we make some pictures to show mom and dad what we learned about today? Once the interest is gone, let it go. You don't need to do monster trucks for the entire month of October. It may be a day that these children are interested in this topic. It may be a few hours. It may turn into like a month, depending on the interest level and the experiences of these children. Okay, so now onto some materials you can keep in your classroom. Labeling things in the classroom is really helpful. You can even have some of the children help you label if they're interested. Having an alphabet available at the children's eye level is also always a good idea. I've even had in the past where children took interest in the alphabet from early on in the year. So a group of children and myself, we took on a little project of creating our own classroom alphabet. So the children sort of divvied up the letters amongst those who were interested, and they created an alphabet. They wrote the letter out, and then they drew something that started with that letter, and we had them up in the classroom at eye level so that the children could access them. So they're creating their own resources effectively. Um, Keeping a glossary of new words learned is helpful as well for those who are writing. So going back to the monster trucks, if the interest was persisting and I found that there were children who wanted to write about it, I might put out a laminated page with some of the keywords that we learned that the children could then reference if they were writing. So engine, wheel, truck, etc. Words that kind of surround that topic. It's always a good idea to have different types of paper. You could have blank paper, lined paper, and little notepads as well are really fun, and lots of writing utensils available. If you have dramatic play areas, think about what type of materials you could leave in that space. So, like I said, notepads are always popular, and they go with a variety of sort of themes. If you have a kitchen, for example, you could have a notepad in there to take orders. If you're having a restaurant, or maybe somebody is playing house and they're on the phone and they want to write down what someone is telling them on the phone. In a kitchen as well, an idea is to have a cookbook out that the children can use. You might have some magazines or newspapers out, or you might have some empty food boxes, like boxes of crackers and things like that, where children would recognize the labels and read in that way. Get creative. Um, so that's sort of the end of my little lecture about child-led literacy. This week there is a discussion post and response, so don't forget. You'll be watching some videos of different classrooms from the ETFO Play website. And if you scroll down a little bit, you might see a familiar face, me, but you don't have to watch my video. But I am there, I am on it. So you'll be watching videos of different classrooms and asked to talk about literacy pieces that you see in these classrooms, whether they are at the forefront of the conversation between the interviewer and the teaching staff, or whether it's something that you spot in the background that you think, oh, it looks like children were working on a project back there. So keep this information in mind, the info that I discussed with you today, when you're looking for literacy in the classroom. Have a great week. That's it for me. Again, if you have any questions or you need anything, please feel free to reach out. Okay, thanks.